live recording this right now. It is Monday, February 9th, KarterKast College Basketball Show. And back to back weeks, we got Shoot the Rock Derek. Hey, man, how you doing? Thanks for hopping on.
Well, we were talking about this pre-show. Given some of the results from the weekend, we're maybe not doing as well as we could be, but anytime I'm on this show, it instantly boosts my mood. So thank you for having me on again.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's just get right into it. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Duke loses on a buzzer beater, 71-68 to Carolina. And Connor and I did the preview last Thursday, and we unfortunately nailed it. Unfortunately, we hit it to an absolute T of everything on paper. Everything tells you Duke should win this game by 7 to 10 points. They should have total control of this game. But the rivalry aspect of this game, that's where things get funky, things get weird. And that was exactly what played out in this game. Duke dominated this game from start to the last 2.5 minutes, really, where, Carolina just started making shot after shot, and Duke started, slowing the ball up, missing easy bunnies, maybe not getting a couple foul calls here and there. That's neither the point. The fact that once again, we're seeing this where the last 3 Duke losses came in the Final Four to Houston, came against Texas Tech in Madison Square Garden a few weeks ago, or about a month ago, and then to Carolina on Saturday in the Dean Dome. And all were double-digit games, 17, 13, 13-point leads, and you slowly start to blow those leads again. And eventually, I watched this Carolina game, I watched the Houston game, I watched the Texas Tech game. Ridiculous shot making by these other teams. Yeah. I mean, crazy. Like, you're like, okay, that's not replicable, but bam, doesn't matter. They keep making them. I know the narrative around Shire is going to be this choke artist mentality of, oh, he's blowing another lead, he can't do it. I want to push back on that, but at the same time, he keeps blowing them. What do we do?
It is getting very frustrating that every Duke loss lately seems to very much be in the same fashion. And it's where, I'm getting people like texting me being like, oh, it's okay. At least like these losses are happening now and not in March. And it's like, well, they keep happening. Like, I don't really think it is a learning experience that they're learning from. And I mean, we talked about it or you talked about it with Connor in the preview. We touched on it like briefly last episode. Like, you thought Carolina was going to win this game. I honestly, you kind of convinced me, can talk me into it. I ended up picking Carolina on my show as well. It's just the fashion that's, I think, really the disappointing part here, where, like you're saying, they played so well. They had this game in the bag, and they just, once again, didn't put it away.
Yeah, and look, here in a little bit, I'll complain about some other stuff and everything, but at the end of the day, like, and it's weird because, yes, Shire is the main he's the constant here of, he's been here and he's the coach of these teams when they've blown these leads, and maybe Duke does get a little conservative at times at the end of these games. Maybe they do get a little ISO heavy, but at the end of the day, I look at the shots Duke got at this Carolina game. I wasn't sitting there going, oh, John Shire. Duke missed easy shots at the end, and Carolina made tough ones. Like, it's boring basketball analysis. It's lame. You want to go into, deeper things of, oh, this guy's better, or, they were running this certain action that Duke was struggling with. It wasn't that at all. It was none of that. It's dudes made plays in a rivalry game, and the other guys didn't. Cam BUZZER got slightly touched on the layup, misses a wide open layup. Isaiah Evans right before that misses an easy layup to also take the lead. Duke just didn't take their chances to put Carolina away, and Carolina just did what you have to do in this rivalry when you're an underdog, is just hang around, and you come back and then bam, you get the final punch. You have a chance to win the game, because it felt just like, not as extreme, but it was like watching the inverse of the 2012 Austin Rivers game in your face.
100%. And that's kind of, like I said, I was watching one of my Carolina buddies, and he kept saying, he's like, every time it seems like Duke is the one that has the crazy shots at the Dean Dome there. Austin Rivers, that 2019 game where they had the buzzer beater to send overtime and to end up winning it. But it was just, it's like you're saying, it was just kind of the inverse, where Duke just wasn't hitting shots down the stretch, which that's the other thing that's just really frustrating. Sure, you can maybe reference that Carolina somehow only committed one foul the entire second half, which seems very interesting to me. I mean, I think back to even if it wasn't a charge, even if it was a block, the one play where I think it was Wilson, like runs straight into Boozer. Boozer hits the ground. There's just no call. Like I don't know how as a D1 basketball official that's just no call. Like that's what I see at this like 6th to 8th grade rec basketball league that I run. Like that's a no call all the time. I understand that, but for Duke Carolina, that makes no sense to me. So, and yeah, I like I said, I hate being the like blame it on the refs guy. I'm not really not trying to be because yeah, Duke just didn't make shots. I mean, I'm looking at the shot chart here, just all these missed layups, like literally in the charge circle, like just didn't put the game away. So, we've just kind of belittling the same point here is yeah, just Duke really just kind of gave this one away, didn't make the shots they needed to win, and it's just frustrating that it's once again happening.
Let's put the Duke fan hat on and put the Duke sweatshirt on. One foul in the entire second half. I watch an egregious amount of college basketball, and so do you. We watch disgusting amounts of this sport. For the second time ever in the shot clock era, a team committed one or less fouls in the entire second half. I have never ever seen that before in my life. And I know this is going to sound like sour grapes, and it's oh, of course you're a Duke fan complaining about this. Objectively, you see Duke's shot chart. It's not like they were settling for a bunch of tough jumpers. They were going to the paint. Boozer was banging with dudes underneath. Not one? Not one more call? Really? Really? And you
Yeah.
can go back and watch the film. There were some missed calls that you can point to that or whatever. Just I I think we saw the death. I can't deal with this anymore of there's the Cameron indoor whistle. You get the whistle in Cameron. I was like, are we just not going to talk about the Dean Dome whistle? It doesn't rattle off the tongue as well, but I mean, you got to be out of your mind watching that game. If neutral Duke, Carolina, I don't care who you are. If you have two sets of eyes and you're not Stevie Wonder, I mean, how do you not? How do you not make another foul call in that game? One foul call in the entire second half on Carolina. No call. That's never ever like that's college basketball. These guys love calling fouls. Duke's in the double bonus, and all of course this game's played in Chapel Hill and the freaking Duke bigs. Now, I'm not saying all the Duke fouls were wrong or whatever, and like Duke was fouling, but one, let's call it on both ends if you're going to make some of those calls. I'm okay with those calls. Let's call it on both ends. But some of those fouls that were called on Gongba or Boozer got those guys into foul trouble really affected this game. And what bothers me when people talk about basketball in college basketball foul trouble is not that okay, he got two or three fouls, he has to sit out. That's not the point. That's not what actually affects the game because the other guy can come in and he can play defense even though you're losing the offensive production of a great player like a Boozer. That's not what changes the game. What changes the game is these guys coming in now know that oh, they're going to call it this tight. I have to play very, very soft defense. I have to sag on this defender. I can't reach, I can't play physical whatsoever. And that's what really affects the game is when these guys get their fouls and they realize how tight the refs are calling it, but then yet they change that entire philosophy in the second half of how they're officiating this game. I just don't understand why these refs continuously just make stuff up on the fly. And I understand it's hard. You're going to miss a bunch of calls. I'm not saying that. But one foul call for Duke in the entire second half? Crazy.
Yeah, I mean this was just way too physical of a game to have Duke only shoot 6 free throws the entire game. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. Like you're saying, when they switch up at half, how they're calling the game, it's yeah, you can't get into a flow. You can't figure out like, hey, this is how I got to defend. Like it just completely changes your mindset of how you got to play defense and stuff like that. And it's just like consistency. That's the one thing. Like if you're not going to call fouls, then just don't call fouls like both ways. It's just this like we're going to call
Except
fouls on Duke.
except when a guy's full blown lowering his shoulder down the paint. It's so funny because people who are watching, it was that call where it might have been Dixon. I can't remember who it was driving down the lane, and then Boozer takes the charge, and then it just nothing.
Mhm.
Dixon lowers his shoulder into him, and I'm watching that, and I'm like, look, everyone online's like, oh, he's moving his feet. That can't be a charge. That doesn't matter anymore. We've established that you can move your feet and it can still be a charge. It's all about being in front, having legal guarding position, and did the player lower his shoulder? it had all the makings of it. Lower the shoulder and look, is that one call going to change the game? No, it's not. You can say it's a 3-point game that changes it, but still, it, that just 6 free throws in a game where Duke was going inside nonstop all night long. And it wasn't look like Duke was getting a crazy amount of open looks, especially in the second half in the paint. Like they were all contested. It was a physical game underneath, and not one really.
Yeah,
But
it just blows my mind. It just like logically doesn't make sense. Like watching the game just that's just not yeah, like that's how basketball is played. It's gonna be a physical game inside. There's gonna be fouls. There's gonna be more than one foul. Like it's not like they're
especially
like on
college
some time
basketball.
crunch here. Yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe they're on a time crunch. They had to get to the Tennessee Kentucky game. They wanted to keep the game moving. Like I don't know. I don't know what the logic is there.
But credit. Oh, I do want to say credit to Carolina, though. I mean, the fact is, we talked about in the Connor and I talked about in the preview where, at the end of the day, guard play did win out in this game. Where you can say, Wilson was unbelievable. Wilson and Boozer were both equally unbelievable. The shot making of Caleb Wilson in that first half was the only reason Carolina stayed within reach of this game. I mean, he was hitting tough shot after tough shot. Mid range game was unfreaking believable. Even that top of the key three, he showed me a lot in this one. And it was the guard play though, where Derek Dixon was the most calm point guard at the end of the game, and that's what we've seen time and time again. That is college basketball to a T, is having the calm, poised point guard in the big moments. That's what's been the difference in all of these March Madness runs for a lot of these teams. Where who was the most calm, poised point guard? Yes, he was super talented, but it was Walter Clayton. You can go back, you can look at that 2015 Duke team where Tyus Jones wasn't necessarily the best point guard in the country. He was super talented in many ways, but he was so calm and poised in those moments where that is the difference, is how can feel comfortable in the last few minutes of these high pressure games. And Derek Dixon showed me everything I needed to know in the Kentucky game at Rupp Arena back in December. That's why I have full confidence in Dixon as Carolina's point guard going into March Madness, and where I think this Carolina team actually does have Final Four capabilities, because you watch that Duke game. I mean, they're down 6, and he takes that three, 3 feet beyond the arc. Just the ball's on him to take that shot, make it on top of that. And then you get to the point where it's 68-68. He's going down the paint, blows by Boozer, gets trapped, and then it gets doubled, and then has the presence of mind to throw that cross court pass to the corner to Seth Trimble. Phenomenal. He had on top of all of that, he had a terrible first 35 minutes of the game. Didn't matter. He showed up when it mattered most, and that's why I do kind of believe in this Carolina team going forward.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's like I said to you pre-show, like I was watching my buddy who's a Carolina fan, and as he like takes that three, he's just like going on about what a terrible shot is. And I'm already in a bad mood because this is when things are going downhill, and I'm like sensing Carolina's gonna come back and win this game. Yeah, he literally makes that three, ties the game. My buddy's still like, that's a bad shot. I'm like, dude, you just tied the game. Like, and then like you're saying that pass to Trimble, and I knew once Trimble had that wide open look, he was cash in that. It's only 3 of the game, but straight cash. And yeah, Caleb Wilson, even though he is a Carolina guy, is very quickly becoming one of my favorite players to watch in college basketball. I feel like not like super underrated, but all the talk usually is kind of this Debansa, Peterson, Boozer. Like Wilson's honestly just as good as those guys. Like watching him and Cam go back and forth in this game, especially in the first half, like you're saying, a lot of fun to watch. Where I don't know, I kind of thought it was crazy because I think it was Jay Williams. Granted, I don't know what the heck's going on with Jay Williams, was like saying something like Carolina wins this game, they're a national title contender. And I was like, yeah, I don't know about all that. But yeah, maybe, a Final Four run wouldn't surprise me if he can kind of put them on his back like he did in the first half, and then have the guards step up like they did in the second half. That I guess, really wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the downfall of this Carolina team, is that just the perimeter shot making is eventually you're going to have to be able to knock down threes. And they did it in this one, and credit to them. I know I've been salty talking about the fouls and everything, but I'm being unbiased here, where they really just have to figure that part of their game. And also with Caleb Wilson, when you talk about the NBA draft stuff, I agree. His motor is unfreaking believable. How hard he plays. He's so talented. If you're a Carolina fan, it's got to be so refreshing to watch a guy that actually cares when he puts on the Carolina jersey, because it just feels like they haven't had that in so long. Once again, like that those RJ Davis, Caleb Love, Baycott teams, it felt like they were almost fine at times losing a lot of these games. And you can see how much it wears on him losing games and how much, he cares about Carolina basketball. So, on the other side of things, you mentioned Jay Williams. Jay Williams, we're hey, Colin Coward, we're good. Jay Williams doing if you didn't see, Jay Williams at College Game Day was just pandering to the Carolina crowd. He's a Duke guy, Duke national champ, all-time Duke great, and yelling to the crowd saying, "I've never done this before. I've always wanted to do this. Tar Heels." Jay Williams. I mean, just full-blown sellout behavior. I cannot wait for March 7th. I'm gonna be sorely disappointed if the Cameron Crazies don't boo him out of the gym. And I tweeted this as well. Boo him out of the gym. Boo Seth Greenberg while we're in the gym as well, because I'm sick of Seth Greenberg. He's terrible on TV. Jay Williams just being a sellout. Like this loss is really on him. J-Man tweeted that out. It's like this. We can blame this all on Jay Williams. Just weird behavior by him, dude. Like I was like, what are you trying to do here?
Yeah, it's just odd. I feel like ESPN at times, just because they have all these Duke guys, like, almost tries to go too far the other way to see, like, no, we're not biased about Duke. And yeah, same thing. Like, it's a big reason why, like, I listen to so much Field of 68 and came across your stuff. It's just like ESPN's college basketball coverage, I think is like horrible, in all
Dog water.
honesty. So it's like, I don't know. I don't even like bother to watch like the College Game Day. It's just I see the clips on Twitter because yeah, I mean, and it's the same thing with like football where they just talk about the same three topics, like no matter what game you're watching. And yeah, they go out of their way to be like, oh no, we're gonna prop up Carolina and crap on Duke. Like it's unwatchable, borderline.
It is funny because the rundown for the show is Duke, Carolina, Kentucky, UConn, St. John's, Purdue. It is the same three topics for today's show.
Yeah.
A couple more things before we wrap up Duke, Carolina talk. One, I can't believe they blew that game. Shire's post-game comments where he talked about them rushing the floor. Look, man, I love Shire. He's my favorite coach in college basketball. I think he's unbelievable. I like him more than Coach K. Just he's not the pest. He's not the character of Coach K and everything. But John, I'm gonna need to see a video of someone punching a Duke staffer because if you missed it in the post game, John Shire went on about how one of his members of his staff got punched in the face by a Carolina fan. They're throwing drinks at him. Yeah, the drinks were getting thrown and everything. I'm gonna need to see a video. Because it might be a boy who cried wolf situation. I need to see it. I still believe in you, John, but I need to see it because I can't be fighting on the front lines much longer.
Yeah. I don't know. I do remember Coach K, back in the day, keeping the fans off the floor at Cameron when they tried to storm against Carolina. I thought these programs were even, so I do find it a little interesting that they stormed. I'm not gonna hate on college kids. Hey, have your fun, storm the floor.
I'll fully hate. You're North Carolina, and I don't want to hear. Yes, Duke stormed the court against Virginia Tech. Duke stormed the court before. Carolina, Kansas. All these teams have stormed the court before. I get that, but when it's a game against your rival, I think it's weird. But like I understand people are gonna say, "Oh, those kids, they have fun." Like you guys are. That doesn't matter. It does matter when it's a blue blood. When it's Duke, Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky, you don't storm the floor. I don't care what you do. Even UConn is probably in that new blood territory where they probably, they're not going to be doing that. If they did it, I don't really care. But when you're one of those premier 4 programs of the sport, you don't storm the court. You expect to win that game. That's the problem is Carolina, that's a Wake Forest, NC State thing to do. And you can say, oh, that's lame of you. You're a Duke fan. You just don't want college kids to have fun, all this crap. No, you're Carolina. You don't storm the court. You're Carolina, Duke, Kansas, Kentucky. You don't storm the court. Any other program, do whatever you want. I don't care, but those 4 don't.
All right, then I agree with you. Same thing, because I didn't want to come off as the salty Duke fan, but yeah, I agree. Like, what are we doing storming the floor against Duke? Like, that's like you're saying, it's the rivalry. It's a blue blood program. These programs are on the same tier, or at least they should be. Like in Carolina fans' minds, I don't know how you're like the expectation should be to win this game. Like it shouldn't be an upset that they won this game. Like I get it. Duke's ranked 4th. Carolina's ranked 14th. Like it's a 10. Granted, the AP poll doesn't really matter. It's like, but it's a 10 ranking difference. Like, yeah, it was odd to me. And then
It
you
was.
had the whole mess of having to like get him off the floor to do it again. Yeah, it's
Can I go salty Duke fan for a second?
sure it's your show.
There's still .4 on the clock, and they storm the court. How is that not a technical foul?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Like, what are we doing here? You can't storm the court. So that sets the precedent of, oh, we can just start storming the courts at the end of these games. I mean, look, I'm not saying it. I'm not the one saying this. They're setting the precedent that it's okay to storm buildings. They are, and usually that stuff happens in the month of January, but now it's happening in the month of February, and Carolina is encouraging this kind of behavior. So maybe we really need to ask some questions. Any comment?
I'm gonna need a second for that. Yeah, no, you're spot on. You're spot on. Yeah, I guess we'll see. Maybe I don't know how many Carolina fans were tuning into Bad Bunny, or maybe they were watching someone else last night. But
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just interesting that, you know, yeah, we'll end it there. Last thing I have on Duke Carolina, going into the game at Cameron. This is again going to sound salty Duke fan, but this is what I predicted in the preview, and I'm sticking with this even more, and I feel way more confident about it going forward. And I'm usually kind of a reverse jinx guy, getting superstitious about these Duke Carolina games. I feel so confident about Duke going into Cameron because, one, they're going to get a friendly whistle in Cameron Indoor. You think these refs aren't going to hear that all week leading up to that game? They are going to give Duke a generational type whistle in that one. Get ready for it, Carolina fans. And then also, look, Duke dominated this game for the vast majority of it. Shire was coaching circles around Hubert Davis in this game. And look, you can say, oh, but Shire lost this game, choked it. You're going to look at a black and white statement right there where it's, oh, one team lost, one team won. Watch the game because Carolina, this wasn't a coaching matter that Carolina won this game. It was pure Seth Trimble, Caleb Wilson, Vasar, Derek Dixon, and these dudes went out and just made crazy plays and made tough shots in big moments. It wasn't different kind of sets and everything. Shire was coaching circles. The off-ball actions, the open layups, the bigs passing on off-ball cutters all game. I feel very confident that Duke is going to absolutely smack Carolina and Cameron Indoor. But it's not going to be those ones we remember. We're going to remember the Seth Trimble shot.
yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit on, last week, the two of us, where we thought this Carolina team's too talented to get swept. And, I think you picked like they'll win at Chapel Hill, Duke will win in Durham. And I agree with that 100%. Plus, that's also, I kind of hate that they do this to Duke at times, but also kind of like it where they play like NC State on Big Monday and then don't play until Saturday. So they got like all week to kind of prep for this one. Granted, then that does scare me a little bit for that NC State game. I guess we'll see how that goes.
Spoiler alert, NC State's beating Duke on that Monday night before the Carolina game.
Yeah.
Duke at NC State is one of the best bets in sports that Duke will lose that game.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess that's, kind of it's the double-edged sword there with Big Monday, where it's nice to have all that rest beforehand, have all week to kind of plan for the Carolina game, but then have to play at NC State off of playing against Virginia 2 days before and then before the Carolina game. So yeah, I probably agree with you. That's where if Duke is going to suffer another loss in ACC play, it's probably going to be that one, but I definitely think they get the win against Carolina next time around.
Yeah, and Carolina has struggled a lot more on the road this season, but that's normal in college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like college basketball is now to the point where, like, when you're talking about like betting lines and everything, where home court is worth 4 points at this point in college basketball, at least. Like, it's absolutely bananas. Where if this game was played at Cameron, is Duke like a 9.5 point favorite?
They honestly might be. I mean, you're more the betting guy than me. I've kind of gotten out of that space a little bit, but yeah,
we've been out of the space for a minute, but I still look at the lines and everything, and I have Ken Palm and Torving and everything, and you see it. Because if you're betting college basketball consistently, it's a madhouse.
Exactly. That's kind of why I stopped. Is like this is like in your head this team's better than that team, but on that day, you never know with 18 to 21 or now like 26-year-olds. So
Yeah, it fully does not matter. Let's move on. Let's done with Duke, Carolina, Kentucky. Kentucky gets a big win against Tennessee. They sweep Tennessee this season, one home and away. They've won their last three. Big win at Arkansas, then Oklahoma midweek, and then Tennessee. Is Kentucky back? Like, or is Mark Pope finally figuring some things out here?
I guess it depends on the context. If you're saying is Kentucky back as a contender to win the SEC, that I say yes. Is Kentucky back as a national championship caliber team? No. Even Final Four, I'm probably still saying no. But this one, yeah, it was kind of almost back-to-back games. That too, I was with another buddy that was a Kentucky fan this weekend. Like Carolina and Kentucky, those two buddies, they're having a heck of a night as both their teams in comeback fashion. Enjoyed some nice wins there, and yeah, once again, for Tennessee, that's just got to be so frustrating to have this team like you're up big on them twice and just give it away. Obviously this one being a tougher one, being on the road here, but yeah, to get swept by Kentucky, definitely disappointing for Tennessee. But yeah, I definitely think you're looking at Kentucky now as a team that could win the SEC. I feel like they're kind of starting to click here at the right time.
Yeah, and it's funny because Mark Pope finally figured out it's like we can't shoot 33s a game. We have to have athletes, and finally found the dudes who are actually going to buy into his team. And it kind of goes back to what we talked about last week when we did the pod, where the SEC, like, I still don't feel confident. I think you nailed it, by the way, because I don't believe in this Kentucky team as a Final Four team, nowhere near a national title team. To be honest, I still don't believe in them really as a second weekend team. Like, any team can, win a couple games and get to the second weekend, but I don't feel confident in them going to the second weekend. And yet now they sit a half game behind Florida in the SEC standings. They're very well going to be they're probably going to be right there in the mix at the end of the day, maybe even close to favorite at some point this season to win the SEC. And yet this has been really a down year for Kentucky, especially that they spent $22 million on their roster. I just don't think they have the guard play to really take them over the next level where they can win these games, grit and grind them out. And Colin Chandler's played really well for them as of late. But I don't think this really changes my opinion about Kentucky more so than they're going to be a lock for the tournament. You don't have to worry about any of those that kind of stuff. They can get to like the 5 seed line and maybe 6 seed line, but national title, Elite Eight, Final Four, like I don't see that for Kentucky.
Yeah, once again, like we talked about last week, like we don't really see there being any national title contenders here in the SEC. So I think, they fit right in of that. They can win the SEC, but yeah, not going deep in March. And yeah, like you said, are going to squarely be a tournament team here, which how non-con play was going for them, that at times looked like maybe, who knows, maybe they wouldn't be in. Like I want to say some of the first like field of 68 bracket projections had them as like a 9 seed. So,
Yeah.
which that would be a very extremely disappointing year for Kentucky. But now, yeah, like you're saying, I think we'll hop back into 6, 5 seed, maybe 4. I don't know. I'm not a huge bracketology guy. I'd have to look at their resume closer. But yeah, having guys like Chandler play well. I mean, Owe 21 points again. Granted, took 17 shots, but I've been impressed with him lately. I think he's been playing better. And then even Aberdeen, who we talked about a little bit, 16 for him. Their last game, not pretty solid game for him. So yeah, definitely kind of having some guys play their roles a little bit better and like play to their capabilities, where I think that could, see them cutting down the nets. I think Nashville, right, or is it Tampa for the SEC tournament? I can't remember.
Oh, well, I think it's Nashville, but it always moves around. It could even be Atlanta this year.
Who knows?
See, let's get live reporting on it. I know it's in Nashville.
Okay, I could see them maybe cutting down the nets in Nashville. That's probably the only nets they're gonna be cutting down.
Yeah, or like the regular season ones on their home floor when they play Florida. Oh, wow. Florida's their last game of the year. I think that'll
Yeah,
be for the SEC regular season.
I could see it. I think that should be a good one.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking at their schedule right now. If you're a Carolina fan listening to this, you got to be thrilled with Kentucky continuing to win because you got that win at Rupp Arena, and also that Gonzaga absolutely spanking Kentucky in Nashville by 400 is going to help them so much. It's helped Gonzaga's resume so much because they have zero resume building chances outside of St. Mary's and the WCC. So, but yeah, Kentucky, they're back in the sense of they're going to be fine. Mark Pope's going to keep his job. They'll make the tournament. They might win the SEC regular season, but yeah, that feels like the ceiling. Moving on, Purdue. And normally I would go with the St. John's UConn game, but that felt like forever ago since it was on Friday night. But Purdue squeaks out a win against Oregon, who had lost 8 straight going into this game. And it was at Mackey Arena. They weren't having to travel multiple time zones for this game. This Purdue team, J-Man absolutely nailed this one. They're not a national title contender at this point. Braden Smith is the best point guard in the country, and it just doesn't matter because Trey Kaufman-Renn, he's fine, but he's having to play kind of out of position at the 4. This roster just doesn't fit together. They don't play outside of Smith-Renn duo, and then sometimes when Lawyer gets going, that's kind of all they have. And to be honest, if you're going with a big 3 of those guys, like that's not an impressive big 3 to me. And if you add on top of that, their defense is honestly abysmal.
Yeah, it's been kind of a flip where, like they kind of like you just mentioned, like Gonzaga with that big win against Kentucky, like Purdue like beat the crap out of Texas Tech earlier in the year where that was a game where you're like, wow, like Purdue is that good. But then just lately here in the Big Ten play, they have not looked good at all. I mean, a guy like Oscar Clough is someone I'm really disappointed in. Like he transferred from South Dakota State, where I really liked him there with the Jackrabbits last year. And at times this year's played well, but yeah, lately has not been playing too well. Same thing with Jacobson, really hasn't done much. And that's kind of, I feel like Purdue, they've always like had this like giant white guy that like can kind of hold it down there defensively. And they just don't have that this year now. Where like you're saying, Braden Smith can be insane. Trey Kaufman-Renn can have his, moments where like that big 3 coming into the year there with Smith, Lawyer, and Kaufman-Renn, like that's why people thought like this team's national championship caliber. Like they've, were all on that team a couple years ago that wins the national title game. But yeah, I just don't really know what's going on with them. Like you're saying, the defense just not been very good. And yeah, a team like Oregon that only has 1 win here in the Big Ten. Granted, Oregon's been kind of disappointing for me. I thought they'd be better in the Big Ten here, but yeah, I don't know. Just to eke out a 4-point win over Oregon is not. You can't be feeling good at all if you're a Purdue fan after that.
No, and especially, yeah, you smacked Maryland. Great. Maryland stinks. The buzzsaw, the dullest saw I've ever seen. I mean, oh my gosh, this Maryland team is a joke. You play the bottom of the barrel in the Big Ten, and great, you got 2 wins this week, and you needed it. It's a great bounce back spot for them. But at the same time, it instilled almost zero confidence in me, especially after the Oregon one. You can say, "Oh, great response against Maryland. They'll be back. It's fine." And then they come out against Oregon. You go, "Actually, maybe this is just who they are. They don't have this next level mentality like we thought they did against Texas Tech, where they absolutely smoke them." Because you're coming off, they squeak out a win against USC, then they lose at UCLA, Illinois, and then at Indiana. You get the 2 wins this week. Coming up, they have at Nebraska, at Iowa, Michigan, Indiana, Michigan State. Like, that is a brutal 5-game stretch coming up. We'll fully find out what this Purdue team is, but really wouldn't be surprised if they keep just falling down bracketology. And I I just don't think that next level's there. They're a second weekend team for me. It feels inevitable at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly wouldn't be surprised they lose both these games this week. I mean, going to Nebraska, obviously no easy task, but Iowa like played them close at home there before that USC game.
Mhm.
Like at times, like I thought Bennett Sturts, like he can just kind of will a game for these Hawkeyes. Like he's one of my favorite players to watch as well. Like and now having to go to Carver Hawkeye arena there, like that's not going to be an easy test as well. So yeah, I mean, if Purdue lost again twice this week, and then probably lost 3 straight to Michigan like that, I wouldn't be very surprised.
Yeah, I just don't see it with this group, and I don't think they're gonna be one of these teams that turns it on for come the regular season. And even if they do, like, I just don't think they have the firepower in the defense to win 6 straight. And so they're also gonna be a team, like, with how kind of poor they play defensively, like, if they're in a 4-13 game and they're playing some pesky mid-major, they're a candidate to lose in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, they lost to Fairleigh Dickinson. Like, I feel like after that, like this team, like,
I know.
and you can even go back farther than that. Like Purdue kind of has a history here of like before these guys came in. Well, even like these guys have been on some of those teams. Like they lose pretty early a lot of the time here under Matt Painter.
Think about Braden Smith's career. Like, let's say, like, he's almost completed the entire heartbreak of possible outcomes for a college basketball superstar, where you lose in the national title game, you lose as a 1 seed against a 16 seed, and then you lose in the Sweet 16. Like, he's what does he need? Like a round of 32 loss to like a round of 32 Sunday afternoon loss? Like, I feel like he's completing all the infinity stones of college basketball heartbreak at this point.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, I think yeah, I think that's probably spot on. Yeah, there you go.
Moving on, UConn St. John's. What a fun game to watch. Like, Friday night standalone Fox. Thank you, Fox, for putting on these Friday night standalones, because we had desperately needed this. I mean, this was so fun to watch. The college basketball world was all glued in on UConn St. John's, and an awesome environment in the Garden. St. John's fans showed out. And then just the intensity, like, they went into this game, dude, and it just felt like they were going into World War One, like just in the trenches, just dogfight basketball, which plays into St. John's favor. And they get a massive win in this one. There's two sides to this one, but I'll let you start off here. Talk to me about the big win for St. John's.
Yeah, I mean, this was a classic, like, 80s, 90s, like, Big East feel to a game. Like, when, watch all the I guess that's another reason why I get mad about ESPN's, declining college basketball coverage. They're old, like, 30 for 30s, like Requiem for the Big East, and, like, we're so good. Like, this felt like a Big East game from that era. Just like you're saying, the hype of it being a standalone Friday night game, which I'm also big fan of here. Being at the Garden, the top two teams here in the league, and just for St. John's to get this win, very, very impressive. Where, they were a team after that Providence loss. I was kind of like, similar to Kentucky, where I'm like, what is going on with this team? I mean, they lost to Kentucky. Like, are they potentially going to miss the tournament? Like, are they not as good here in the Big East as we thought? But now it's very, very much showing like it's them and UConn for sure here in the Big East. And maybe they can even pick it up, win the conference here. 24 or 21 from Ejiofor in this game, as well as 10 boards. Like, really impressive game for him. Like you're saying, dogfight, grind it out, and games like that, perfect for him. 15 here as well for Dylan Mitchell. Like that too. Like, they're starting to have these other guys like really step up and play well. And yeah, I'm really enjoying watching the St. John's team here lately.
My conspiracy is that the St. John's Kentucky game, the Mark Pope, Rick Pitino love fest that it was for 2 hours, where it's like they love each other, they want to hang out all the time, they want to all this stuff. I think Rick Pitino is trying to help out his guy. I think Rick Pitino is like, hey man, I'm gonna get you going. I'm gonna get this to you. This is gonna get things going for you and your program, and I'm gonna help you out here. I'm gonna do you a solid.
I could see that. I mean, I think Patino would be like an assistant on Pope's staff if he asked him at this point, the way how much he loves that guy.
Um, and then, but yeah, I just love how hard they play, man. Like, do I think St. John's is a national title contender? No, but that doesn't matter. Let's not take away from how fun this team can be in the regular season. And the it kind of goes to my point of, like, with UConn, I did the pod with J Man where we're doing buying and selling teams, and I sold all my UConn stock. I was like, sell everything on UConn. This is kind of my reasoning why, when you look at this, like, you go through their schedule in this season. The Illinois one is very impressive, but they play Kansas, no Darren Peterson. Okay, yeah, that was at Allen Fieldhouse. I understand, still a big win, but Kansas was in a downturn at that point. I I just I don't believe in the guard play necessarily. This Utah team, like, Braylon Mullins is great, but he's gonna end up being more of a catch and shoot guy at the end of the day, especially in these big moments. Solo ball is just inefficient now and just is all over the place. And Silas Demery, he's played really well as of late. I've really enjoyed his game more and more. I think he's gotten better. But in those pressure filled moments, I didn't have confidence that he was going to be able to get it done against St. John's.
No, I mean, he has 18 points in this one, but 9 turnovers. Like, that just isn't acceptable. And then
Scary.
yeah. Like you're saying here, Mullins with 11, and then Solo Ball only with 8 on 8 shots, where, yeah, he really just hasn't kind of evolved into that elite shot maker that maybe people thought he could for this UConn team. And I mean, even like Caravan has a good game here, but like, I haven't really been super impressed with him. So I kind of agree with you. I just think with kind of how down the Big East is this year, and UConn did a great job scheduling in the non-conference, but it is almost like a not to the same extent, but like a Gonzaga, like WCC, where they're just not really getting enough like big tests that I think they're going to be ready for March, where you're going to have to beat, 4 or 5 really good teams in a row.
Yeah, and which that I think that's a great point because that does scare me going forward because you look at their schedule, really they only have 2 tough games to close out the season. Like, I'll read through it. At Butler, Georgetown, Creighton, at Nova, St. John's, Seton Hall, at Marquette. That at Nova, St. John's week that's it. Outside of that, I mean, the rest of these you should be sleepwalking to wins. And we could see a UConn team go into the tournament at what, only with 3 losses. And even then, I wouldn't feel like they're anywhere near to the level of some of these other teams I've seen. Like, if you're telling me on a neutral court right now, you're giving me Duke UConn, or like you're talking about, that's a bad example because it's a one-off game. But you talk about like Duke versus the field or Arizona versus the field. I'm taking these other top elite teams over UConn right now, and the analytics also back it up. Where they're not in the same stratosphere compared to Michigan, Arizona, Duke in all these different analytics right now.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And also just like against these lesser Big Ten or Big East teams too, they haven't looked great. I mean, Providence should have beat them at least once, played them close both times. Georgetown was a close game. Seton Hall was close at points, and like at the time, Seton Hall looked like they were maybe good, but they've fallen off a cliff. So that's the thing. It's not even like they're, just beating everyone here. It's been close wins, and then now they're one kind of tough contest here. Finally in the Big East, they fall. So yeah, I'm not a believer in this team right now.
Not a believer in this UConn team. We'll do a couple more things here, and then we'll wrap up. NC State is rolling. Will Wade's got this thing zooming right now. 1, 2, 3. They're on a 6-game winning streak. They got Louisville tonight. We're about to find out what this NC State team's all about, though, because I love the 6-game winning streak. A lot of great stuff. That's awesome. You got big wins against VT, at SMU, at Clemson. Like those wins are going to get you into the tournament. Great. Their next 5 at Louisville, Miami, a desperate Miami team right now, home Carolina, at Virginia, at Notre Dame. I guess it's like 6 really, and then versus Duke. Like they're the way they close the season right now. Woof, they need to go. They need to pull out like minimum 2-4. They got to go 3-3 in this stretch right now. If they want to feel totally comfortable getting a decent seed in the NCAA tournament, and I believe they will. Will Wade's figured a lot of things out. So shout out the Wolfpack, man.
Yeah, they've been playing well there. We kind of talked about a little bit last week, like a team that they're maybe in this next tier in the ACC. Like you're saying, this Louisville game tonight should be really interesting because I think those are teams, in a similar tier. That game against SMU was a lot of fun to watch that they pulled out at SMU there during the week. Quadir Copeland in that one, double-double without points is like insane. I feel like you almost could never see that in college basketball. So really nice game from him. And then, yeah, Darion Williams really coming into his own. I mean, talked about that last week. So, yeah, we'll see. Definitely a tough stretch here. I mean, we both said, though, we think they're going to beat Duke that second to last game there. So we'll see.
Yeah, NC State's figured out that they just don't need to have Darion Williams just be the number one guy, go-to guy, ISO situations, and instead just become a more balanced attack where it's like, okay, it's Paul McNeil's night. Oh, okay, it's Copeland's night. Okay, it's Williams' night. It's, Abel's night. It doesn't matter, like, anywhere. Like, they've become a more balanced attack, kind of like how Clemson has played as of recent. So, big stuff for the Wolfpack. Virginia also, they've played a weak ACC schedule recently with Notre Dame, Boston College, Pitt, Syracuse, and they really aren't going to be tested too much until they have a 3-game stretch against Miami, NC State, Duke. But they're rolling right now. They're going to be competing for an ACC title, and Virginia's an interesting case where I think I watch this Virginia team and I go, I really like all the pieces. I like what they're doing. Like, I think they can be a Final Four team, but I also am like, can they?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far. I think the ACC, especially now with Duke losing, is maybe not as like last week I was just about saying like Duke could run away with it again. I think there now maybe is more teams that kind of are right here. Virginia's one of those squads. Ty Stritter didn't have a huge game over the weekend, but like he's been at times had some big games. Same thing with Dallin Hall. Once again, not a big game this week, but yeah, if guys like that can play well, then yeah, maybe they can go on a bit of a run here. But I don't know if I'm buying Final Four, but we'll see.
Quickly, games to watch before we get out of here. NC State Louisville tonight's a great one. Arizona Kansas. Arizona's a 1-point favorite at Allen Fieldhouse. Any quick thoughts on the game?
I love all these big Mondays. Like I wish college football didn't go so late, so we got more of them. Because yeah, these like Big
Yes.
12 games we're getting here in the late night have been insane. I think that is going to be a tough test here for Arizona. It's never easy to win in Allen Fieldhouse. I feel like that's another one where Kansas seems to always get some shenanigans or like a whistle to go their way. So we'll see if Arizona can overcome that. But with how talented they are, I think they can. I'm probably gonna go with the Wildcats in that one.
I think I'm going with the Wildcats as well in this one. But Darren Peterson shows up for these big games. I'm very, very excited to watch. I can't wait. Purdue, Nebraska, the battle of the white boys. Holy smokes! I mean, it's gonna look like a Mormon pickup basketball game in this one. It's gonna be hilarious. Gonna be some real fundamental basketball. I actually can't wait for it. I think it's gonna be so fun to watch. And this is a Purdue team who both these teams really need this. Where Nebraska's played well in these losses, but they need this one to just get things back on track. They were the fun story of Nebraska ball. Rink Massey's getting healthy and everything. Get this win against Purdue. I'm feeling real good about the Cornhuskers going into March.
Yeah, like we just talked about, like Purdue struggling right now, plus this one being at Pinnacle Bank there in Lincoln. I like Nebraska to get the win there and get back on track.
UNC plays Miami and Coral Gables. We don't have to like talk about this game anymore. I just want to say the Duke Carolina letdown is very real, and especially after a buzzer beater one and a very emotional one like Carolina had. Miami is extremely desperate right now. They are on, depending on where you look, they are firmly right there on the bubble. They're either the first team out or the last team in right now on many people's bracketology, and they need that signature win to get them pushed into the tournament. Big week for them with Carolina and then at NC State. They need to get this one against Carolina Tuesday night, so watching out for that one. And I kind of like Miami a little bit just on the letdown spot for Carolina. And then Virginia Tech Clemson's a good one. Florida Georgia, UConn Butler. The bigger games are coming this weekend, but we'll preview those later on this week and everything, and all that good stuff. So hey man, thank you so much for hopping on. I for people that are listening right now, I texted them late last night. I think it was like 11:30. Like, hey man, I just had two of my guests tomorrow fall through. Like, can you do me a solid here? So really appreciate you hopping on, dude.
I know anytime Carter, like I said, I love coming on this show despite, the results from this weekend. I'll still talk ball anytime. Like I said, just to finish watching the Super Bowl and now we're fully on to college basketball. So to get this opportunity to come on again, can't turn that down.
It's college basketball season. It's officially college basketball season. We really appreciate it. Make sure to go follow at Shoot the Rock TTTV. It's all in the episode description, as you guys know. So make sure to go follow, please. Great follow. And you'll be back on many times coming into March Madness, so don't worry. And then make sure to follow at KarterKast and everything at KarterB8. Check out all the KarterKast college basketball stuff. If you're a bracketology fan or March Madness fan or everything like that, check out Fielding the 6CA. We'll be live. I don't know. This should be out before then. So we'll be live 5 p.m. on Mondays and Fridays, going through Selection Sunday. So make sure to tune into that. Church Ball Pod. You guys know the drill by now. At KarterKast and everything. Download SeatGeek. Use code KarterKast. $20 off your first purchase. $50 minimum purchase required. Let's go to KarterKast at SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app today. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.